Welcome to my sewing space. I moved here in March, so it's a work in progress. I've painted, but I haven't replaced the carpet or molding yet, but I'm really enjoying my space. I have 2 rooms for sewing, and this is my work table, which is my old family dining table. I've only purchased one new piece of furniture for my sewing room, and that is this So Easy Grande table, which I love, and I love how it fits in this dormer. So this is probably my favorite spot. It was my favorite machine to sit and sew and look out the window. I have this threads in a variety of spots. These are those Amazon racks you can get for nail polish that work pretty well. I usually, when there's sun, I keep that blind down. I've got those blinds and installed those. So that keeps sun off thread and stuff. And I have a variety of tools over here. This is all my standard needles are organized in these. And purple threads, just because purple. One of my favorite parts of this room is that I have all my machine cleaning gear in a real easily accessible spot. That was an issue for me in my old space. I have a binder, that black and white binder. I keep copious notes as I'm sewing. I'm a garment sewer. I did one craft fair, and I've sold some other stuff, but mostly I sew garments and a large variety of garments. So I like to take notes as I refine construction techniques. That's really been helpful for me. So this room is basically my favorite sewing station, favorite serger station, and the furniture was all just Facebook bargains. My ironing station. A big goal of my organization effort when I moved here was to organize scraps, because I couldn't access small pieces and scraps very easily at my old house. So that's been a goal. I really like sewing with knits, leotards, swimsuits, leggings, but I also do denim, and this is a lot of hand-dyed fabrics, so I'm trying to keep on the scrap management and make stuff with scraps, and because I just don't want to waste. So one thing that had helped in this space is the closets. I have these really wide but not deep closets, which work well for this purpose. My old house, they were super deep, and that was one reason I lost scraps. So I have my patterns that I've either drafted or traced, and a lot of vintage machines in this closet. So this is nice to have the vertical space here. And I just have these hanging with binder clips and pattern hooks. And that's worked well for me. Then my cat hangs out with me a lot in here. And then in this closet has shelves. So that was super nice too. It just really worked out well. I got more vintage machines down there. And my threads are pretty organized. Little bins, various stuff. The top shelf is a little bit of rando there. Needs a little work. I really enjoy having memorabilia in my sewing room from my childhood, and the stitchery, which my daughter made me. And the table is not going to be my permanent cutting solution, but it's working out fine for me for now. I have a couple rando boxes of UFOs, but I'm feeling like it's pretty organized considering. So this is the second room, and this room did have to do double duty. I retired from teaching, public school teaching, but I took a remote tutoring job. I'm tutoring just one first grader. So that's pretty good. Pretty good setup. But I had to sacrifice a little sewing space here. This was one of my 4 stations I have in this room. And so to set up for online teaching, I did this. But it's not really bad, because that document camera is pretty easy to just scooch over, and I can still use that machine. And the computer I use with Photoshop for designing and for screen printing. and also for my Cricut Maker, which is kind of buried under the teaching puppets, but again, not hard to access, not hard to move a couple things. So in this room, I have 4 sewing stations. The table there, this table, which I refinished, and you know, there again is a hodgepodge, but it's worked fine for me. These cabinets yield a lot of storage, a lot of drawers with a lot of space. These aren't even half full, and they allow me to sew with the machines flush, so I really like that. The other thing, and here's station 4, the other thing about these, having this setup with all the stations, is that I can rotate in different machines. I have different machines for different purposes. Like I say, I do everything from spandex to heavy strapping on chalk bags, so webbing. So I like being able to switch out my machines. And so I've set these up. I've got all my machines on uninterruptible power source, which I believe is really, really important for electronics of sewing machines. And that's a whole nother story you can look into, but basically it'll say the circuit board, not from power surges. It's not a surge protector. These things protect from low wattage, like when your lights dim. That's really hard on sewing machine circuitry. So especially vintage. And I love my vintage machines. So I've got these labeled. What I can do is just, I'll have a couple different foot controllers set up at each station. So it's pretty easy to swap out a machine, and I had the labeling really helped me because that was getting a little tricky. So, you know, if I'm doing more knits, I can have more of the cover locks. I can have one set up for top cover stitch or flat lock. And then if I'm doing more with wovens or webbing and chalk bags and wax canvas and all that, I can pull out the old Viking and swap that out. So that's my setup here. As you know, some people might say, well, why do you need 6 different desks to sew on? But that's the way I like to sew, and it's really working out well for me. This room is also, as you can see, fabric storage. There's no closet in here, and I'm not sure about these bins here. I mean, that's not the most sightly thing in the world, but at least, like I say, I've got it organized so I can have begun to use my scraps. I've been making some of these little different spiral bowl things out of cord. Oh, that one wasn't scrap. Some of these are scrap wrapped. Anyway, having all my fabric folded and accessible, even the small pieces, has really helped me in using it up. So, and being able to access it instead of having to buy a small piece of something when I need a small piece. So I have my spandex prints here, some wovens. So, you know, some people organize by color, some by type. I do some of both, mostly by type. Thinner cotton wovens, cotton knits, solid spandex, and then just blacks, whites, pant weights. And this is really fun. I think this is a wine rack, and we didn't need it in the new house because we had one built into the island and no one else wanted it. And so I turned this into a kind of a next step, I'd call it. Just fabrics that I'm really excited to start sewing with. I've got a lot of these really beautiful knits I'm going to make long sleeve t-shirts out of. And I've got some more storage under here and some bins underneath that, this table. And my needles. I've got the needles for the cover stitch since it takes a different type. I store all those separately. And I've got those pretty organized. So it's worked out really well for me. I've really enjoyed being in this space. Oh, I've got, here's kind of a good use of space and storage, I think. I had a lot of this ribbon, so I just hung it here, and it's accessible but out of the way. So I said I have 2 rooms for sewing. I do, but I also have this textile space, which isn't done yet. Don't be alarmed. There's a mannequin in here. Looks kind of real. So this is going to be my space for fabric dyeing and screen printing. And I'm hoping to learn floor loom weaving. I bought a floor loom inexpensively off Facebook Marketplace. And I want to learn how to airbrush. So my plan is to build a soundproof one of these knee walls and put my pancake compressor in there to run the airbrush. And then I'm going to build storage and cabinets, shelves with using pocket hole joinery and birch ply in all these knee walls. Then I'll drywall, of course. I've already got power. I need to plumb a utility sink in here, which is going to be a difficult job, but I do have water and water heater and washer dryers directly downstairs. So that's going to be an advantage. I'm going to have to deal with the ducting and drywall. And flooring. So this is going to be a big project, but I'm excited about it. So eventually I'll have a really large table in the middle of this room, and that'll be a large cutting table. I have to figure out a way to have it have different layers on it so I can have a cutting board, also a way to flat surface for exposing silk screens, and I'll need to use it for hand painting, fabric with dye, and airbrushing. Might do that light board I did. I thought that was pretty cool. So that's on my printing press and a couch over here. That's a big project. But I'm excited because this is going to be a lot of space. Flooring, I'll probably do a pergo style. We're going to put this was extra molding from the last house I fixed up. And this is extra oak. We're going to do tongue and groove oak that we sand down and the rest of the house. So that's a lot of work, but it's going to be pretty fun. We're going to try to get it insulated, which is obviously the first step this winter, so I can start learning floor loom weaving. And I think it's going to be really fun eventually to have dyeing and screen printing parties. In my old house, I used to have big parties where people would come over and upcycle shirts and throw some dye and ink around, and it was pretty fun. So when times are better and safer, that's what I'm hoping to be doing. Oh, these lights that attach to the wall are also super handy for spot sources. I have another one on top of above the ironing board, and those are really nice for adding lighting. You know, I've got windows in here, but the light tends to blast in, and I have to be careful with fabrics and threads, and light's not always exactly where you want it. So those have been super handy. The other thing that's really helped me as I age and to be able to see well, I love these Optivisor goggles. They work for me a lot better than readers. I don't know why, but they work incredible. And then Bluetooth speakers, really a must in my sewing room. I really enjoy putting on good tunes and sometimes popping a cold beer in the evening while I sew. And really makes this a fun space for me. And also I really like having a good pencil sharpener for when I'm tracing and drafting. It just, these little things are really making me happy, having this extra space, having everything that I need for my projects easily accessible. So that's my sewing and textile space, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone else's. Bye.